I think that's it. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's 9 a.m. Let's begin. If you'll stand with me for a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for a new day, and we thank you for a chance to gather to handle county business. We ask for your blessing upon this meeting and each agenda item. Thank you for those that are here to speak, those that are here to listen, those that are employed by the county. We thank you for this community and those that support the work of the county. We just pray that the decisions we make will be in the best interest of the entire community. We pray for our servicemen and women and our first responders, and we are grateful, Lord, to honor a serviceman today. We just ask your direction from here on out. In Christ's name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for the record, today is the 11th day of December 2017, 9 a.m., our first regular meeting of the month. We'll start off with item number 1, our public comments time. If you would like to address the court on anything that is not on the agenda, this is the time to do so if you would like. Is there anyone that would like to speak at this time? All right, I'll recognize Paul Lindsay, our investigator in the county attorney's office.
All I really wanted to indicate to you is that we do have our metal detectors now. These are new metal detectors. I'll have this one on out here so you kind of see what it does. We bought 2 metal detectors, one for the JP's office and then one for up here. I've got 3 of the handheld wands. We purchased those out of that particular approval that y'all gave us. And I'd like to thank David and James, because these things arrived on the wrong day. I didn't have anything set up to do it. James got his truck out there, and David, and they weigh 200 pounds apiece, and they have to be assembled. And I couldn't have put some things together without them. And I really just appreciate all the work David did and James and company get those things done. Hopefully, sometime right after the first of the year, we know the county court up here. We'll have some people that will help me do this, and we'll start screening people as they come in. I think it's going to work well, and I just appreciate y'all's support and the help that you gave me to get these metal.
2 new units. One's right here. The second one is in the JP's.
One of the 5,000s that was at the JP's office. Matter of fact, it quit a couple of days before we got the new ones in, but we managed to get it reassembled and put back here. And I found out that Garrett has a tech service system. You call them, the tech can walk you through what to do to fix it, and we fixed it. And now that 5,000 that was at the JP's office, the sheriff's office now has custody of it. They put it out at the jail too. And that one's just a backup in case one of these other ones go out. We've got several of the 5,000s, and if they have some serious problems, we can just pull that one out and put it over. It is working fine now. So we've got them where we need them, and that 5,000 is a good backup.
We originally approved 3 units. You ended up buying 2. The district judges or the district judges.
The bailiff over there indicated that he wanted to go ahead and use the 5,000, and so I mean
the old one that they already had.
Right, the one that they already had. Right. He did get a new wand for to search with, but the 5,000 still over there and working.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you, Paul, for doing that.
I appreciate it.
All right, item number 2 is consider and possibly approve minutes from our November 27 meeting. That was the last meeting in the month of November.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Motion's made by Commissioner Parker to approve those minutes. Second by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item number 3, a special treat today. This is a special presentation, something we don't get to do very often. This is going to be a presentation that Steve will make. And Steve has got here today some guests here that are going to help us to celebrate a recognition of Sergeant First Class Burl Doyle Johnson. And Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you and introduce your guests. And again, thank you. making this happen.
Thank you, Judge. It's a special day. I get to wear both hats, not only the Veteran Service Officer, but the Titus County Historical Commission. Did a little bit of research with the assistance of the family in order to make this presentation today, honoring Sergeant First Class Burl Doyle Johnson, Korean veteran. I have Kathy, who initiated this process, and we have some of Sergeant First Class Johnson's family, and I'll let her introduce everybody just by name and how they're associated with our veteran.
That's great. Welcome. Come on up and tell us who you brought with you. This is Nathan.
Nathan.
Welcome, Nathan.
Grandson. This is Nathan Johnson, my husband Wayne Johnson, the granddaughter Brangus Cooper and her husband.
I remember her.
Let me show this to the court. In addition to these medals that will be presented today, Sergeant First Class Johnson also has a Bronze Star Medal issued by the government, which is already in their possession.
Let me hand him a mic, because I'd like this to be on the recorder. Or grab that. Carl will hand you a portable. Okay.
In order of precedence, the Bronze Star Medal would be centered above these medals, and the family has the original medal, which was issued by the government, and this would be the row of ribbons that would accompany it. The medal at the top is the Presidential Unit Citation, or the ribbon rather, and it's worn on the right side and can be worn with the medals on the left side. This would be the rank insignia of Sergeant First Class. They call it Tech Sergeant in the Korean War. And this is the unit patch, goes on the left shoulder, Thunderbird Division. This is kind of a surprise. Nathan Lee Medal. This is grandson of Sergeant First Class.
You know, one thing we didn't make completely clear, and perhaps it's obvious, that Sergeant First Class Johnson is no longer with us. He passed away, how many years has it been? 2007. Okay. So this is awarded posthumously, and Nathan, you're the proud recipient, and we're glad to have you here today, and we thank you for being here. We thank you, all of you, for being here, and we just appreciate the service of Sergeant First Class Burl Johnson as I knew him.
Yeah. The Korean War was known as the Forgotten War, and hopefully we're not going to allow that to happen, not on this watch. On September 1st, 1951, the 45th Infantry Division was activated as the National Guard Division to be deployed to the Far East Theater after World War II. Following this arrival, the division moved to the front to replace 1st Cavalry Division, who were then delegated to the Far East Reserve, having suffered over 16,000 casualties in less than 18 months. In an effort to reduce the burden of the National Guard, the division was often replaced by enlisted and drafted soldiers from the active duty force. When it arrived in Korea, only half of the division's manpower were National Guard soldiers. Over 4,500 guardsmen left between May and July 1952, continually replaced by more active duty troops. Though the division was no longer an all-Oklahoma unit, unit leaders opted to keep the designation of the 45th Infantry Division. By the time the division was in place, the battle lines on both sides had largely solidified, leaving the 45th Infantry Division in a stationary position as it conducted attacks and counterattacks on the same ground. The division was put under the command of 8th Army Corps. In most of the conflict, it was deployed over the Chaoran area, assigned to protect key routes from that area into Seoul. The terrain was difficult and the weather was poor in the region. The division suffered its first casualty on 11 December 1951. Initially, the division did not fare well. Though it improved quickly, the anti-aircraft and armor assets were used by mobile artillery were constantly pounded by Chinese positions. Due to the drastic reductions in U.S. military spending following the end of World War II, these divisions were under-equipped with worn-out and obsolete weaponry and suffered from a shortage of anti-armor weapons capable of penetrating hulls of the North Korean T-34 tanks. During the Korean War, the 45th Infantry Division suffered 4,004 casualties, consisting of 834 killed in action and 3,170 wounded. The division was awarded 4 campaign streamers and 1 presidential unit citation. 1 soldier in the division, Charles George, was awarded the Medal of Honor. Now, as we said earlier, Sergeant First Class Johnson had already been awarded the Bronze Star Medal. Medals received today are Army Good Conduct Medal, Army Occupation Medal, National Defense Medal, Korean Service Medal, U.S. Armed Forces Expeditionary Service Medal, United Nations Service Medal, Korean Service Medal, Cold War Medal, U.S. Presidential Unit Citation. He's also received the Thunderbird Patch, the Korean War Tech Sergeant E7 U.S. Army Stripes. It's been an honor and privilege. Thank you, Court, for your attention.
This time, will you join me in standing and recognizing this family? Could we get a picture? And leave us room. We'll get behind the family and you arrange them in whatever order you would like. Carolyn, will you use your camera and maybe take us a picture in addition to the newspaper? Come on down here. Y'all be right here, just line up here. We'll take a picture from back here.
Right in the center. Everybody feel on this side.
Maybe get a couple of us on each side, or 3 on the other. And if y'all will maybe turn sideways, we'll help us scrunch up a little bit.
I'm gonna count to 3 from mine real quick. 1, 2, 3. 1 more. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, and if you'll let Carolyn there behind you, give us a little more width.
Yeah. Look at all of them. I got it all at the table. Ready?
Yeah.
One more. Ready? Do it? No, I have 3.
Thank you again for coming. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for your work. Congratulations to you. Thank you for being here. Y'all are welcome to stay and listen to some county business. You're welcome to get back to doing whatever you need to do.
eat later. It'll be all right. If you get shiny, you make it cry.
Yeah, I got a grandson in the South China Sea right now.
If it didn't go,
We're on the ship.
It's in the Navy. In the Navy.
He's a 4E.
That's always good to be able to do that.
Engineer.
For a family, I know that they appreciate that. We appreciate them. Item number 4 is our regular report from our road engineer, Roger Ledbetter. Welcome, Roger. Good morning.
All right, we're currently placing ramp on County Road 1360 from the log house down to 1250, and we're probably gonna go ahead and place a little bit on 1250 back out towards 1896. There's some pretty bad spots in there. This is some of the wrap we're getting from the state. It's coming off stockpile on US 67, and this is part of the 8,000 cubic yards of wrap that TxDOT allocated for us. We're also working on County Road 1065. We added approximately 3 inches of wrap at the top of the existing surfacing. We used bow mag to mix the wrap, existing surfacing, and some of the subgrade material to a depth of about 6 to 8 inches. Trying to make a base material out of this mixture. Basically, the wrap provides the rock, the subgrade provides some of the clay, and hopefully that'll make a base material. We completed a short section of this work from the interstate up to the Perk Railroad tracks. I don't know if you've seen it, Mike.
Yeah, I have.
And we primed the surface right now. We can't hardly seal it right now just due to the weather, but we'll try to seal it this summer, so hopefully it'll stay together. We'll have several employees on vacation this month, so we're probably going to try to start doing some side cutting and doing some more pothole patching and some other odds and ends. On the Champion Maintainer that we're going to take to Ritchie Brothers to sell in March. We were going to take it in December, but we decided we need to take it in March. We think we can get a better price and maybe more bidders in March. One of the reasons we made that decision, we needed to get it there at least a month in advance. We didn't really know that at the time. And we had to get it there to get it more exposures to the potential buyers, plus it has to get into their paper that they send out to prospective bidders. So we didn't make it deadline, so we're going to get it into the March. We're going to make sure we get it out there at least a month in advance. If we do that, it should get a lot better exposure than what we're going to get in December. And that's about all I have. I mean, we haven't got a whole lot going on. Y'all got any questions? Any problems anywhere that I need to be aware of?
3275.
3275?
Yeah, I got trees that fell down and we put it down the road. There's about 4 or 5 of them on that road. 3265 has them on there too. Up down from the church.
3265.
What, fallen trees?
Yes, sir. Rotten trees, dead trees.
The only thing I've got, and I called Philip about it Friday, there was a tree that Bowie cast that was in our right-of-way. Bowie cast was under their land. Lightning had struck a big pine tree, and they took it down.
Yeah, we're picking it up today.
Are you? Okay.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
If not, hold on there and we'll roll right on into discussing the subject we hit on last meeting, and that is to reconsider and possibly approve an increase for our road subdivision bond amount. And as Roger and I had been discussing this, he brought it to my attention that the true cost of building a road, as we are asking our developers to build, undoubtedly exceeds the amount of the bond that we originally calculated, which was, I think, $12 a foot on these roads. Have you had a chance to look at that and come up with something that would be reasonable for the developer and reasonable for the county?
I think we need to base it on about $1 million a mile, which ends up being about $189 a foot.
$1 million a mile?
Yes.
For a county road in a subdivision?
New farm roads cost about $2 million a mile now, so that's about half the price of a new farm road. It adds up, especially, you know, we're requiring some engineering costs to go on these too now. Where we're having to actually do the design on the cross-running structure, so there's engineering work involved in it they have to pay for also.
What are we trying to accomplish with this bond? As I understand it, it would be set aside to ensure that at the end of a given period of time, or once final inspection is done, that road met the criteria that we had given them. And if not, we could call upon that bond to help us finish the job or bring the road up to snuff.
Yes. Yeah, that's basically what the bond is for. If the road basically falls apart and the developer abandons it, we'll have the bond to go, we'll be able to get the money from the bond to go back and rebuild the road.
Okay.
Now,
So
we also require a maintenance bond too. You know, we accept the first bond after the road is built. Okay? I think it's got a 2-year minimum. You know, it has to be accepted by the Commissioner's Court. Okay?
I thought it was a 1-year waiting period before it's evaluated.
That's the maintenance period.
Okay.
The bond period is a minimum of 2 years.
So they've got to keep that bond in effect?
For a minimum of 2 years.
2 years starting when?
I think it starts the day that the county accepts the bond.
Okay. Which may be well in advance of the completion of the road?
It could be, yes.
Could be. Okay. So let's say that they get the bond and they get everybody's approval and it looks like they're ready to go, but they delay their project for some reason for some time. You know, let's say it's a year later before they actually start work, and 3, 4, 5, 6 months after that the road is actually complete. At what point are they free to quit paying that bond premium and say, I no longer need that bond?
When the Commissioner Courts, when y'all basically approve it.
Okay. Which theoretically ought to be about 1 year after that road is completed and they say it's done, so that we can see that it holds up during that 1 year period.
Yeah, well, the way we've got it written, it's 2 years before we release the initial performance bond.
Okay.
And then we've got another year of maintenance period after you release the performance bond. The way I understand it, we accept a maintenance bond at the same time. So when the performance bond goes out, we go to a maintenance bond at the same time.
Is that 2 bonds in force at the same time?
No, not at the same time. The first one ends, the performance bond ends, then the maintenance bond will start when we accept the performance. In other words, when we accept the construction. Y'all, the Commissioner's Court will release the bond, okay? At the same time, the developer is supposed to submit a maintenance bond to the court for approval at the same time. So when the performance bond goes out, the court will accept it, and at the same time, they will accept a new maintenance bond to cover the maintenance of the road.
As difficult as it is administratively to get these bonds, why could they not just let that performance bond continue to ride on out? I mean, they've already got the paperwork done. It's down to a matter of just paying a premium. Would that be a possibility?
Yeah, I guess that'd be a possibility. I mean, it's going to be up to y'all. I mean, you're requiring them to have a bond. If you require just one bond all the way through.
Okay.
Now, the first bond is going to be at a higher price than the second bond. So the developers actually, once it's built and we accept the road in that 2 years minimum, you know, 2 years, 5 years, or whatever it takes them to get it to the point where they want us to accept it.
That maintenance bond could be a cheaper premium.
Yeah, what we've got shown there is half the price of the construction bond.
Okay.
What you're going to run into here is when you have a development like this, and at some
Clean up
point
to
in
the-
time,
get
at
in
some
that
point in
spot.
time, they will finish the road. We bring it to court. Goes through the process, it meets our criteria, and for the next year, whoever's developing the project will continue to maintain that road for one full year, the way we've had it in the past. Now, what I would do is go out and when they're doing the base work, see what they're doing, how it's supposed to have 6 to 8 inches of base and then so much topping on it and this and that. Drainage fixed appropriately. And then after a year, if there's something that needs to be fixed, you maintain it. Where you're going to run into problems is when you start building. The road will hold up, it'll be in pretty good shape. When you start bringing concrete trucks in there and lumber trucks in there and all this stuff, that's when you're going to have the road start. You're going to find the weak spots, I guarantee you.
Right.
And
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, the subdivision road will get torn up just because of concrete trucks and other trucks coming in and out of sites.
But if it's a subdivision that the lots sell slowly, I mean, it might take you years to
That's
fill
right.
that thing up.
that's correct.
I don't think that we need to be requiring them to have a bond that exceeds, a fixed amount of time until we see what all those concrete trucks are gonna do in that 15-lot development. We've got to be reasonable here.
And I agree with that.
And I would hope that if we're overseeing that construction, maybe not overseeing it, but if we're the ones, and I guess we ought to be involved in that process, at least watching and seeing that how are you envisioning that? Some kind of monitoring while
Yeah, I
that
mean,
road's
we'll
being
obviously
built?
What you're up to, and as far as what materials and stuff we're bringing in. The way it's written, an engineer has to certify that it's constructed right.
Okay. So you've got an engineer that blesses that construction?
Yes.
And
The
he knows what?
developer's engineer.
Okay. All right.
You know,
Well,
we're
that
requiring
gives
him
us some
basically to
further
find a
confidence.
place, and then he will, I guess he would kind of oversee construction and say it was built in accordance with his plan.
Okay. All right, that's good. So somebody building a 1,000-foot long road, for example, you're suggesting a $189,000 bond?
Yes.
Okay. That's based on about $1 million worth of construction from start to finish, including planning, engineering, and execution.
Yes. Because if it totally fell apart, it was designed wrong, built wrong, then we'd have to come back in there and completely redo the project.
And right now, we've got $12 a
We've
foot?
got $12.
Okay. I don't know where we came up with that.
I don't know. You got $12 for the bond and $6 a linear foot for the maintenance.
All right.
You're going to have more and more developments coming this way because of the lakes, and people are moving down here and retiring out of Dallas and Fort Worth. We got more and more people moving this way, and the bonds and stuff that we're putting, they need to be, they needed to really be adjusted years ago and get on up there to cover what it's supposed to. But you're seeing a lot more of it now than you ever have seen.
We have a little conflict in our subdivision rules, because if you go over and look on page 11 and 16, the first sentence is all developers are required to have a bond equal to the estimated cost of construction, which would make more sense. If it costs them $500,000 and you put up a bond for $500,000.
Who's going to make that estimation
It would be the
calculation?
developer
Okay.
or whoever they hire.
Okay. All right. Well, that's not an action item today. That's something that I want you guys to consider on this bond amount.
See, you never know what you're going to get into till you get out there. I mean, you could have some large structures involved that would add up the money real quick, and you may have one that's real simple, where there's not even any structures required at all.
Okay. I take that back. I do have this as an action item. I personally would like to think on that a little bit. And I also want you to hear from one of our developers and some of the, the difficulties sometimes involved in getting this done. So I would ask you to table item number 5 today and give that some thought.
Make a motion, we table.
Motion is made by Commissioner Applewhite to table a decision on setting a bond amount to revise our road subdivision regulations.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, let's move on into item number 6. And Roger, I may call you back, but feel free to have a seat. And we have a guest today, and Emily, I'm not going to make you come up here to the mic yet unless you want to, and maybe we'll get to that point. But I did want to tell you about, here's a real situation where we've got a developer who wants to do a development, a nice development out on Lake Bob Sandlin with some nice property and nice lakefront lots, and they are trying to abide by the regulations, and they have hired Mr. Sanford to help them to do this right. And somebody who's really interested in doing it right and reads the fine print and attempts to follow all the regulations has run into a couple of issues. For one, it seems like it is rather difficult, or it's administratively difficult to get one of these bonds and to get a bonding insurance agency to understand exactly what it is they're asking for. And perhaps Emily can give us some more information on that. But I have here with us today, this is Mrs. Emily Belf. She is the developer, she and her husband, on this piece of property out at Bob Sandlin. So that's issue number 1. And then something I was not even aware of, and I want you guys to be aware of, we have in our subdivision regulations hydraulic study requirements. George, am I saying that right? But apparently there is some wording in our regulations that requires that a developer provide not only all the things that you already know about, but in addition to having the blessing by Clint Bain and septic systems, and now doing a road that we understand is quite expensive or can be quite expensive, we have some hydraulic study regulations which ensures that that road will not be negatively impacted by water, rain, flooding. I don't know what all else can come into play there. And this is not something that a typical draftsman would be able to do when he's setting up the the different lot sizes and how they're laid out. This takes it to a different level. And as I spoke with Mrs. Belf the other day, I was realizing that, this adds on another layer of regulation if we're going to ask for a hydraulic study. And we may have some good news on that. I spoke with Darrell Grubbs and asked him about one of these hydraulic studies. I said, Darrell, is this something that's reasonable? And if so, how do we get it done? And he said, yeah, we always did a hydraulic study on anything we did with TxDOT because we wanted to be sure that we're taking into consideration anything that could deteriorate this road. So that was just a part of everything that we did. And yes, it is reasonable. Okay, Darrell, who around here can do a hydraulic study for an interested party that wants to do a development? The answer is, I don't know. He says, I can do them, but in my capacity at the water district, I don't think that that's appropriate for me to be doing a hydraulic study on property that's around the lake. He said, let me think about this and see if there's anybody else around here. He mentioned another name, somebody out of Houston that travels up here from time to time to see if they were interested. But we simply don't have the services, these kind of services offered by any of our local residents. This is going to require bringing in an engineer perhaps from out of town, or so we thought. We may have some good news there. George, you're working with Ms. Belf on this. Would you tell the court what has changed or what you have found out about this hydraulic study, and maybe give us, tell us about this hydraulic study.
Highway Your highway engineer will point that out. For large tracts of land, you've got to do it, but it takes a detailed survey when you get ready to do it. If you've got creeks or anything else flowing through there, you've got to take every bit of that into account. You're going to end up getting a survey, at least a 5-foot interval, better to get a 1-foot interval contours to do your maps. That's very, very expensive to get that done. If you've got less than 5 acres, it's not that big of a deal. If you're sitting on top of a hill and all the water's running away from you, so all that comes into account. If you're in a flood zone, it totally changes everything. And that's what it's all designed for, is that the road ditches, the runoff, the culverts, everything will handle whatever that 25-year rain event is. And then you do a 100-year rain event just to make sure your calculations, when you get that, whether it's going to overtop the road and everything. There's software available. There's a HEC-RAS that's done by the Corps of Engineers. It's free. It is a huge program. It takes a long time to run it. You've got to have very detailed information to put in there. Then Culvert Master software will run you $1,000, $5,000 just to put the software on your computer. And that's why the majority of the people around here don't do it. You're going to have to find a larger engineering firm to do it. I found some free software. It's going to work on a small drainage plan for this project. It's not going to work on bigger projects. And that's going to become a big key issue. And at this point, something I'd like to point out, just for the future of Titus County, when you start doing home sites that are 50 to 100 units that you're putting in, yeah, you can bring a contractor in there and come in and do that. It'll be cost effective. It's what you're seeing up right now when you drive to Fate right now is putting in subdivisions left and right. They're putting in 400 or 500 units. It's cost effective to bring an engineering firm and do all that. When you're only putting in 5, 6, 10 units, it's going to become very, very expensive per unit to put those in. One of the things you're going to start seeing, we're already starting to see, you drive around town, go over on 9th Street. They're building brand new homes on lots that are 60 foot wide. They cannot afford to build homes out in the county anymore. And it's going to become more and more of that. People are going to move into town because they can't afford what it's going to cost to put in a subdivision with just 3 or 5 homes in it because of the cost. And that's just something that I think the county needs to consider for the future. The only large projects can be built out in the county. People that want a $100,000 home are not going to find it in the county anymore.
Is that appropriate, or should we be thinking about reevaluating our stance on this?
The roads need to be built, there's no doubt about it, they need to be the standard, okay? There's absolutely no need to try. If they're less than 300 foot, you got an exemption right now. But you get above 300 foot, then you got to do all the calculations, everything's got to be done. It's an opportunity for somebody to come in here and open up an engineering firm right here in Titus County and try to go that way. I know the other counties have not required this. And the way they're getting around it, it is required if it's an open subdivision. They're putting in gated subdivisions. They're building $1 million homes and still got gravel roads going into them. But they're putting a gate with accommodation to get in, and that's how they're getting by. And I don't think we want to go to that point either.
Where is this property, you're looking at developing, where is this property located?
It's down behind Blodgett. You go turn right there at the church, and you go way back up in there.
Turn left at the church.
Right there at the church, and it's way back up in there.
At the end of 2850.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the Lee place.
Yes.
Yes. It is a gorgeous piece of property.
It's beautiful.
Without that.
And it's mostly hills.
There used to be homes in there.
Well, my granddad on my wife's side owned that property back in there where the old radio station and all that stuff was at. I knew it was going to be developed. I didn't know when, but it is beautiful property.
It is absolutely gorgeous.
So what you're telling us, George, is that
we need
regulations are reasonable, but they're costly, and we need to be prepared to run into situations where folks just go, you know what, I'd like to develop this property, but because of the regulations you've put on us, I can't afford to do it, and therefore I'm not going to develop that piece of property.
So the big developers are only buying property that's got the road frontage, so they can come straight off the county road into the drive.
That piece of property, how much land is there?
There's 12 acres.
12 acres, okay.
And, you know, that's kind of what I was explaining to Judge Lee the other day, that
Step on up to the mic, Emily, and this is Emily Belf. She's from Dallas here. Thank you for taking the time to come over here.
Sure. I'm not a developer. We actually got this, and we were going to split it into 3 lots. And, you know, because of all the cost of putting roads in, and now we're having to put 3-inch water lines and taking it all down the road. And anyway, we ended up having to split it into more than 3 lots. So we've just seen how expensive it actually is. And that's just, it's what we've run into. But anyway, the next thing is the bond issue. I have seen that is just, it's very difficult to get. And like I told Judge Lee, I said, I'm ready to get the road started, but I can't get it going because I can't get this bond, and it's a very lengthy process. So I asked him if there was another solution. You know, I'd like to pay our contractor just up front for the road, and it's going to be done. It's going to be paid for right then. No, it's going to be done, and Roger will oversee it. So will George. And so we talked about possibly putting up the bond amount with the county, which right now is set on the rules and regulations at $12 per linear foot, which comes out to $7,800. And I guess that is for the performance bond, and then it goes to $6 a foot after the 2 years at $3,900.
And that's based on about 700 feet of road, something like that?
Yes, it's 650 feet of road.
And the way that the regulations, as you just heard from Roger, we've got it at $12 a foot. And so as we talked about this, I said, you know, if it's that hard to get an $8,000 bond, you know, one alternative would be to put cash up with the court registry and let that serve as a bond, and that money would be returned upon successful completion. Well, here we are talking about taking that $12 a foot times 15 to go to 180. Obviously, that would make that a whole lot more burdensome for the Belfs to be able to do that. So we're talking about, when are we going to increase the size of the bond? How are we going to require the Belf development to adhere to the bond regulations? And as far as that hydraulic study, it was looking like she was going to have to spend another $20,000, possibly $30,000, according to Daryl Grubbs and to Roger, to get a hydraulic study. Well, perhaps we've dodged that bullet if George can help in this situation with the software that he has found. So.
Already done the hydraulic study, submitted to me, and it looks pretty good.
This will work on this small acreage like this. It will not work if somebody comes in here and wants to put in 20, 30 acres or 50 acres. It's going to be totally different.
Well, but like you said, on those larger developments, they have more lots to spread that cost over. Here's an example of one where this stuff really hurts. You've got, how many lots in your development? 10. 10 lots. Fortunately, they're nice lots that hopefully she can sell for good money, but nonetheless, a developer comes in here thinking they can split this land, and then they find out they've got bonds, and they've got hydraulic studies, and they've got $180 a foot roads. The costs add up quickly, and we must understand that this is going to...
Developers will have money. They'll have an engineer on staff before they ever start.
Those big ones will.
The big ones will. It's going to be people want to come in here and put in 3 houses.
Yeah, and that's the people that we mostly deal with and the ones we've dealt with recently, and that's where the problems typically lie, and those are the problems we're trying to avoid with these regulations. And so the ultimate outcome is we may inhibit some development on a small scale, and we must be prepared when these folks come and say, hey, will you give me a break on this?
So it's going to depend on who the contractor is with the road. Whether they're taking that. Luckily, she's got a contractor that built part of the loop here, so.
Okay.
Have you looked at that road going in there and the things you're gonna have to do to upgrade it to meet their needs?
I haven't really looked at it.
The road's not bad shape, and it's got a real good base. At the very end, it narrows up.
Their road will look a whole lot better than ours.
Oh, yeah. Well, that road's been there over 120 years or 130 years.
He helped build it.
Across the lake.
I did.
Yeah, the
I'm not
road
that
goes
old.
there.
It ends up in the lake.
Well, I had this as Emily, is there anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay. I have this as an action item on here, and what I want you to consider is she's been working with George, she's been working with Roger, she's been working with Clint, she's been working with you on this as well. She intends to do this right. So are we going to, let's talk about how are we going to deal with the bond requirement on this particular development. Are we going to change the rules on her midstream? Or are we going to stick by what we currently have in there at $12 a foot, in which case she's offered to put up hard money with the court to serve as her bond? Will you be willing to do that? What would you be willing to do here on this?
What are you going to sell these lots for? How much? What's the value of these lots?
You know, we don't have those priced yet because I don't actually have the amount that I'm gonna have to spend putting the electric, and the water company hasn't given me an exact amount, but I think probably somewhere in the 120,000 range. Actually have 3 families that have already committed to buying lots from Dallas and building really nice homes out here. They're really nice lots. I know there's 2 premium lots on the point.
Those first 2 lots will pay for her expenses, that's what we was having to try to get.
And these are all acre plus lots, or roughly an acre?
They're all over an acre of usable land. That
We worked
does
on
not
that.
include the 50-foot offset to the lake itself. So we had to make the lots a little bit bigger because of the offset from the lake, make sure they're usable lots.
You know, if we had requirements in there at $180 a foot, I'd be the first one to tell you we need that bond amount to be high. But I don't like the idea of changing the rules, even though we're planning on or possibly changing these rules. I think that's going to be a reasonable thing to do. I don't think it would be fair in this case. So I really think that's the decision today. How can we, what kind of bond situation will we accept on this development?
What do you feel like is fair?
I feel like I've tried very hard to follow every rule,
I know you have.
and I feel like what is laid out right here is what is fair. And that's what I've tried to get is, and I'm actually in the process of getting a bond for this $12 and a maintenance bond for the $6. But it's such a lengthy process. It, you know, could be another 6 weeks before this bond is put into place. And I can't start the road until the bond is put into place. And that's really the only issue, because I'd like to get the road started.
What do you think, Roger?
I I would stick to the original rules right now. And we're going to change and enforce the new rules.
Okay.
And she was trying to meet all our requirements, and that's what the original requirements.
Judge, I don't have a problem with that because, you know, I'm kind of like you. I don't think it's fair to them or the company to come in here and change rules in the middle of this. But if we need to adjust it in future, we need to get that done, and we need to get the studies done or whatever. Because you not only, if this road is built down through there, that road getting to that property is going to have to have some work done on that too.
Well, I'm gonna put revising the bond requirement on the next agenda after you've had some time to think about this. As far as today, I'd like to be able to send her home knowing what her expectations are from us. You say you would be okay with her putting up money that would represent $12 a foot, as is currently the specification?
That's what we had in there, Judge, and she looks like she's been going by the rules and trying to do everything she's supposed to do, but there's going to have to be some adjustment. And I don't want to tell people you can do this and get started, and all of a sudden we change the rules in the middle of the game.
Okay. Is that your motion, that
Yes,
we accept a cash bond on the Belf development in the amount of $12 times the road length? Yes?
That's my motion.
Okay, got a motion.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor of this decision today regarding only the Belf development, say aye. Opposed? Okay, Emily, we appreciate your adherence to this. Thank you for the efforts you put into this. Thanks, George, for pursuing that hydraulic study. That was a real concern of mine, and I'm glad that this is going to work out. This is going to be a development we will all be proud of.
I need to get Roger afterwards and make sure that this is the only one I'm going to do. Come up. I need to be aware.
Well, I need to know that too. So we can't. You don't want us referring business to you for hydraulic study.
I'm retired.
You're trying to quit.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
On the maintenance bond, are we still is that still gonna be in effect?
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think that if we do it on one, we should do it on the other.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you again for coming out. Good luck on your development.
But I do think if we need to improve these things, and I definitely think we need to go up on them in the future. Maybe George and Roger and, you know, different people we can get together to help on it. But we need to get it adjusted where people in the future, as they start to do this, we have it set, ready to go for them to look at and say, this is what we got to do. Because it's not going to quit. It's going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Well, it's been a learning experience for us. I believe in the requirements that we're making of these developers, but I also am seeing very clearly the cost involved to those developers. All right, anything else on this matter? All right, thanks y'all. Emily, thank you again for coming. Nice to meet you. Item number 7, we won't belabor this, but we've got a couple of items here that we've carried over, talking about a couple of projects on the flagpole. I followed up with the phone number of the lady that we had dealt with before. I got no response back from her either, so it may be time, Commissioner, to figure somebody else out, and I don't know who that would be.
Let me give you an update. Excuse me. I've talked to Pat Dismute,
Yep.
and he did the monuments, and he said that the judge was Danny Pat Crooks, and the judge had somebody, and one of the commissioners, he said, I don't know his name, was a tall guy, was handling the stuff. They had all the instructions, and it's got 4 metal anchors, and they packed them in sand to plumb the pole with. And they had to get a crane. The city paid for the crew. The city brought the crew in. They packed all the sand in it and so forth. And whoever, he said, I don't know who was in charge of seeing it was plumbed correctly, but he said that was it was a local. He said, I don't think that they brought it in. He said there was a catalog on how to do it, or instructions, but he said, I did the monument and they did the pole, flagpole. And he said, it's like 4 anchors, metal anchors, packed in sand, and he said they're to plumb it with. And he said, and I don't have a clue who did it, who the engineer was or anything. I thought that he said there should be some kind of record who we bought the flagpole from, and they would be glad to. They probably sell a lot of them. Would probably be the best angle. Is there any way we could find out who the?
Yeah, if you
he said,
figure out which year it is, we can go back through.
Joyce can look it up.
He said the county paid for the flagpole, bought the flagpole and paid to have it installed.
I've got Danny Pat Crook's phone number. I'll give it to you if you want to ask him if he remembers it.
I live near him. I was going to go by and see him after I just talked to.
He may or may not remember, but that'd be a good.
Who would be a tall commissioner? All I could think of Billy Jack Thompson. Was he overseeing it?
I think it was J.W. Because he was. See, J.W. had been involved in construction work and stuff.
Yeah, he said they had to get a crane in.
He said, I think it was J.W. that brought. He knew the people and he had done stuff like that before, so he was. But if you get a chance, call it J.W.
Okay.
I've got his number too.
Okay.
And what about Billy Jack?
It wasn't Billy Jack. I mean, there's only one I could think of that was tall. When he told me that, Billy Jack wasn't around. Okay. He wouldn't have done that.
All right.
He had done construction work like that, worked cranes, done stuff like that all over the United States.
And Mr. Jones has not got back with me on the facade. Okay. He said he would. I talked to him Thursday or Friday. He said I'll be right there. I got tied up. He said.
Okay.
And wait a minute. I'm proposing that we put it up for bid.
Once he brings us the specs.
Yeah, right.
Let's wait till then and read over those
right.
specs and see if we're all in agreement that that's what we want to do.
Okay.
All right, item number 8, so no action there on item number 7. Can we table that? Anybody?
Make a motion to table.
Motion by Commissioner Applewhite to table any action on item number 7, construction projects. Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 8, consider and possibly determine the date for our final Commissioners Court meeting of 2017. We have it on our calendar that we approved over a year ago to have the Commissioners Court meeting on Wednesday the 27th, coming back from a 4-day weekend there with Monday, Christmas Day, and Tuesday, the day after Christmas, being county holidays. So we can leave that be, or we can consider having a Friday morning, the 22nd of December, prior to that 4-day weekend, if you all would rather do that.
The problem with having it on Wednesday after a 4-day weekend is nobody's going to have been in my office. You're going to have no extra bills or nothing.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
Well, I see advantages to the Friday.
We just won't have any bills with that Friday.
Yeah, you might go to the Friday because you're not going to have any more information.
But it would be easier for her to process everything Wednesday. Wednesday, so if you're gonna have the same amount, it shouldn't matter if it's Friday or Wednesday.
Well, except you have to process it.
Well, should have to process it like Wednesday. I mean, if you're trying to
Probably
get the
Tuesday. You'll have to move it back to Tuesday.
No, cut the week before. I mean, if you have it on a Friday, then we're gonna cut that week short and try to get bills in, so either, and then you're saying somebody's gonna come in that week, so you might as well
Well,
have
she
Friday.
could process it up through Friday.
And then we can have it on Wednesday, so we would rather it be on Wednesday. I still think some of y'all do come in, I mean, y'all don't just, you know. 'cause
Come
we're
in
gonna
every
use our
day.
week.
So I'm missing your point. Are you suggesting Friday's a better day or Wednesday?
She's saying if we do it on that Friday, we have to cut everything off on Wednesday. If you do it on next Wednesday, we can.
We could process more money.
Pay these 3 days.
Okay.
here,
All right.
and leave it to 27.
Okay.
Leave it.
All right.
I think we need to leave it to 27.
Leave it on Wednesday.
that-
Well, that's the way that it is, so we'll take no action on that item. Item number,
Is that okay?
yeah, is that okay with y'all?
I've got family coming in on Monday to be here all that week. My youngest son will be in here from Colorado. But I can probably work around it.
Well, I don't know what'll be on that agenda. You can take a look at it, and if you feel like you don't need to be there, let's talk about that. I don't know. At this point, I don't know of any major items that'll be on there, but that's, 2 weeks. I don't have to. I mean, we could put that in their first meeting in January. Why don't we do that?
Judge, have you had an opportunity to maybe talk to some of the counties just coming out of Dallas and places like this where they're developing some of the routes they've maybe set up?
I am familiar with, for example, Hunt County in Greenville. They're fairly elaborate, and they need to be, and they've seen this coming, but as you know, that's where you're seeing huge growth over there in Hunt County and then on into Dallas. So I think these guys have, seen this coming, and probably in the last several years have revamped theirs long ago.
Well, I definitely, we've got to revamp ours because it's coming here too.
Well, I think we've got a pretty darn good set at this point. We keep learning and tweaking and improving these, and we'll probably continue to do so. But finding that balance between what's best for the county and what's best for the developer, I think we've got to be consistent, and I think we need to do what's best for the county long term.
I agree.
Item number 9, consider and possibly approve disposal of various out-of-date reference books in the judge's office. I'm just running out of shelf space in there, and I have attempted to put some books up for sale on the internet just to see if I could get any response, and it's been over a month and I've had no response. And I'm not talking about wiping out the entire bookshelf in there, but I do have some books that are well over 20 years old and are just of no benefit anymore that I would like permission to dispose of those books. And if anybody wants some decorative books before I dispose of them, then let me know. But I don't want to start chunking these without full disclosure.
Have you contacted East Texas State at Commerce? I know they take in a lot of things that we had here. They took them to Commerce Archives up there.
I have not. I have not. This is not historical books. These are just law books that we used to update. Prior to this administration, we were receiving regularly new updated books, and I don't know if they disposed of the old books or not, but I stopped the purchase of any new books. Everything that is needed is now available much quicker and easier and more currently online. And so these printed books are just kind of a thing of the past, and just need to get rid of some books in there to give me some shelf space.
I make a motion that you have the right to dispose of those books that you don't need anymore.
Motion's made by Commissioner Fields. Second by Commissioner Riddle. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 10, approve oral and written reports of county officials. Thanks, sir.
Do what?
I don't understand how we got all this money in here, then up there, 15 million. That's okay. I don't know.
Make a motion, we approve the oral and written reports.
Motion is made by Commissioner Parker to approve.
Second.
And second by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor of approving the oral and written reports, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 11 is our treasurer's report. Are the auditors still here?
Yes.
The outside auditors?
They just had one over here last week.
For next week? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I didn't see who that was. Is that Dana?
I said make that
Commissioner
motion.
Applewhite makes the motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
Second is made by Commissioner Parker. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Carl, do we have any budget amendments? Item 12. No budget amendments today. Item 13 would be approval to sign pay orders and approve payment of our bills.
Make a motion to pay our bills.
Motion's made by Commissioner Parker. Second by Commissioner Fields. All in favor of approval, say aye. Item 14, closing comments, if any. I'll start on my left. Commissioner Parker.
I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Commissioner Applewhite?
No, sir.
I don't believe I have any today. Commissioner Fields?
Just want to let y'all know you got a new Titus County resident, Reginald Underwood, my great-great-grandson. And just wanted y'all to know, I'm bragging a little bit, so, but anyway, he weighed 8 pounds, 6 ounces.
Half broke.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Commissioner Riddle?
No, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We will bring this meeting to a close with a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Commissioner Parker?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.